So this is the cheap leather straight out of Hobby Lobby, and I really like using this leather because I mean it's not horrible quality leather, but it was also super cheap, so I won't feel bad if I ruin something with it. But the downside to it is it's a little bit thick. I think this is closer to like 5 ounce leather rather than the 4 ounce leather that you're supposed to use for wallets, 4, 3 ounce, whatever. But it does have a really nice firmness to it, which is really nice when making leather because I do have another thing of leather, and it's this color, which I don't know how I feel about that, but bends pretty easily and it doesn't really hold its shape as much. Yeah, this is the thickness of the correct size leather, and it's a little bit less than this. But anyways, done with that tangent. I'm going to find what measurements I need for this new wallet. Also, I don't know how I feel about these tripod legs. It's kind of cool. It adds like a sense of dynamicy to the dynamicy, is that a word? It makes the shot a little bit more dynamic and adds something to it so it's not boring. So what I'm going to do first is figure out what thickness I have to cut this at, which it looks to be around 8 inches. Oh, this is centimeters, not inches. Whoops, I never used this blue side, but I thought the green side looked kind of dumb, so pretty right on with 3¼ inches. Yeah, I'll go with 3¼ and hope I don't mess any of this cut up. So one thing that I like to make sure of is that my edges are straight. So I'll just pick a reference line in on my little mat I've got here, and that looks to be a pretty straight edge. But if I line it up on the vertical edge, you see it's not really straight, which I can factor out by just moving it up a little bit. And I could cut this off first, which I actually might do that. So I'm gonna throw this on here real quick, make sure that doesn't move. And then this is my little cutter thing. I don't know what this tool is called. This is what I'm going to be using to make my chops. I usually give it one big run through just to get it started. Then I'll start it up a little bit harder. This part takes a lot of patience. And just like that. Ooh, that looks pretty good. So we got, that's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and a quarter. A little bit easier just to knit it. Boom. Boom. Alright, so we got our 3 sort of points that we have to connect. Like little... Messed up that end of that. Oh yeah, straight through. Oof, that was a rough line. One thing that I have to keep in mind for wallets is you want a bit of whatever the contents is to poke out, so you don't want it to be like this, just because, I don't know, it just makes it that much harder to get out rather than if it's like this. So I might make the profile a little bit shorter, because I also really like, I like it when the wallet's more rectangular rather than square. I just feel like it looks better. Well, I could also just cut it a little bit lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure one side, and then I'll measure this other side too. And that'll be kind of an approximation, I guess, of how long of a piece of leather I want. We'll play it safe, and what I can do is I can do all the stitching first and kind of line that up how I want, and then I can just cut off how much of the tongue I want. I think I'd want it to be like this, but I don't know if that's too square. That is pretty square. Yeah, that's actually really nice. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark that right there, and the card goes right here. Okay, so this is how far up the card goes, and this is where that front piece is going to come up to. So assuming we can fold this right about at that line, so I feel like it's safe to say that we can just lose like this much. Okay, so I just clipped this all together to kind of simulate the stitches before I actually do have to stitch it in. But yeah, that should be really nice. Alright, so we're finally continuing this. My camera battery died, so it is now about 8 hours later and 5 in the morning. If you hear an obnoxious, excessive bit of snoring, I have 2 dogs behind me. So what we did is I clipped this together and I let it sit overnight. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find where I want this to fold over. Also find the thickness that I want the cross strap to be. Half an inch? Yeah. Yeah, this was half an inch thickness, so I might stick with that. And there is our strap. Okay, so I don't have pricking irons, so I have this good old thing. So this is what I use to put the holes for the threading. Yeah, I'm gonna put some holes right down the sides of these, and I will also integrate this strap as well, which I think is gonna go sit around right about there. This is how it turned out. Basing could have been a little bit better, but ultimately I think it turned out how I wanted.